Greetings and welcome to the Halloween episode of Macon County Movie Club. I'm your host, Ryan Stockstad, and tonight we're tackling Video Nasties. Now, these are the infamous 72 banned films that were subject to criminal prosecution in the UK in the 1980s. Tonight's hosts have each selected one video nasty to potentially show, but it's up to the guests in the room to decide which movie we'll actually watch. The story of the Video Nasties is really a story of censorship. It's much less about shocking, depraved content, and much more about moralizing crusaders who got way too powerful in the UK in the 1980s. Now, my pick tonight is one of the Section 1 prosecuted films, Night of the Bloody Apes. Now, I've never seen this movie before, so I really hope the room goats for it. Did I just say goats for it?
Hi, I'm Kate, and my pick is the wonderful The Boogeyman. This one is a film from 1980. It's on the Section 2 unprosecuted list, and I have not seen it yet, but I really want to.
My name is John. The movie I am bringing today is called The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. It was a Section 2 video nasty. It was not prosecuted, but it was released, heavily censored. I've seen it. It's a great movie, and I sure hope everybody votes for it.
Hello, Governor. My name's Kevin, and I'm a British censor. My pick for Video Nasty is Toby Hooper's 1981 classic, The Funhouse, which of course I've seen, but if you were a teen in England in 1981, you haven't. So I hope you pick it. No!
Hey everybody, welcome to Video Nasties Night. I've picked a movie that I've never seen before, which I hope you guys will vote for, obviously. It's called Night of the Bloody Apes. And it's a Mexican horror film, and it's one of only 4 Video Nasties from the 60s. So it was directed by Rene Cardona. Bloody Apes is actually a remake of his film Doctor of Doom, which features a mad scientist who kidnaps women with his hideous ape man monster Gomar and then subjects them to evil brain transplant experiments. My pick is the only of tonight's movies that was actually prosecuted and remained banned in the UK for many years. So it's the only one that's on the Section 1 list. If you want something gory and weird and totally unclassifiable and just bonkers and unhinged, pick Night of the Bloody Apes. I haven't seen it yet, but by most accounts, it's a ridiculous and hilarious crowd pleaser. And I guarantee that you'll have fun if you watch my pick tonight.
They rip, they tear, they claw you to pieces. It's an orgy of terror. Beware, it's the night of the bloody apes, and the creatures of hell are loose. The night of the bloody apes.
My pick this week is the wonderful little 1980 slasher flick, The Boogeyman, directed by Uli Homo. German director, and starring his wife, Susanna Love, and also John Carradine, the scion of the amazing Carradine acting family. Way back in 1980, when I was 12 years old, this particular pick was one that I attempted to shoplift from my local video store, only to find that they had misfiled a copy of Private Benjamin as the boogeyman. So if you would like to see a highly enjoyable film about boogeymen and childhood and our greatest fears, please pick and vote for The Boogeyman.
By the time they believe in him, it'll be too late. The boogeyman, he's going to get you.
Sup, everybody? So my movie, it's the Living Dead of Manchester Morgue. Now, this is by far the best movie of the 4 that you'll get to choose from, and I'm not just being obnoxious. It's got a 6.8 on IMDb, which is pretty good for these kind of movies. It was not prosecuted, but it was put on the Section 2 Video Nasties list. It is a Spanish and Italian production that was shot in England. It's in English. It's a zombie movie, as you could probably tell from Living Dead being in the title. It is interesting in that it came out in 1974, so it's clearly influenced by Night of the Living Dead, which came out a few years earlier, but I think, in my opinion, it probably in turn influenced Dawn of the Dead, which came out a few years afterwards. It's got a really cool explanation for the zombies, and it's got some pretty gross gore, which is obviously what got it on the list. Originally, when this movie got released, it was 2 minutes shorter, but we have the uncut version here. You will know exactly why they asked them to make those cuts, because it's gross, but really well done at the same time. It's a good movie. It's a disgrace that it was ever put on any kind of a list. So I hope everybody will vote for it. You will not regret it. I know this crowd, you'll like it. So let's go, have at it. Living Dead of Manchester Morgue. Yeah.
When I was a kid growing up, my favorite ride at the carnival was the ride through haunted house. And so when I found out that they were making a horror movie about just such a ride in 1981, a movie called The Funhouse, I was all in. When I found out that the director of the film was going to be Tobe Hooper, the guy behind the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was rabid about seeing this film. So my pick is one I have seen before, only once, in 1981. I was shocked to find out that this film was actually a Section 2 on the Video Nasties, because it's very tame by slasher film standards. The movie was novelized, and they hired at the time a relatively unknown writer named Dean Koontz to draft the novelized version of the script, and he published it under a pseudonym at the time, Owen West. And then, of course, later the novel became almost a cult hit, even more popular than the film itself, and so he republished it under his real name. So you can read the book if you're interested. I highly recommend the film from what I remember, and I'm very excited to see it again if you vote for it, so fingers crossed.
Funhouse.
The results are in, and Very, no recall, no recall. Very sad to announce that the Funhouse did not win. That was our fourth place with four points. It's a very respectable tally, but 4 wasn't going to cut it in tonight's crowd. No to the Funhouse. Number 3 coming up in third with Night of the Bloody Apes with 7 points. So once again, my pick has not been chosen. One of these days, you guys will vote for my movie. Now we're down to first and second place, and I'm going to skip over second and go right to our winner. Our winner, overwhelming, with 14 points. Is it John? Is it Kate? It's the Boogeyman.
This is a sweet victory because my childhood dreams.
So sadly, Living Dead at Manchester Morgue came in last place with 8 points. So just slightly more than Night of the Bloody Apes. And like I said, nowhere near the 14 that the Boogeyman got. So let's do this. Let's watch this movie.
Oh, I would do that. Well, that's good. Now, what's all of a sudden rusty?
All right, well, we just got done watching The Boogeyman, but before we discuss it, I want to show you some footage we shot earlier this week of a filmmaker who was actually affected by having his movie classified as a Section 3 video nasty. Let's roll that footage.
Hi, I'm Harry Bromley-Davenport and I directed Xtro, which found itself on Section 3 of the video nasties. Unfortunately, we were never really a video nasty and we didn't get prosecuted, so we've been referred to as video nasties, which feels as if I've been accused of running Auschwitz without actually running it. The film got into quite a bit of trouble, in various countries. I've got a lovely thing here from an illiterate person, an illiterate censor in the Philippines, and I'll read you a little bit of it. Demonic. Could only be the product of a crazed mind. Very unhealthy film. Project negative and the unsanny aspect of man's nature. I wonder what unsanny, I think, must be a different cross between insane and insanitary and I don't know. It's ironic and rather sad that the censors who tried to stop this movie from being shown have actually created a handy list of these video nasties for people who want to look up the most disgusting and horrible films available.
Xtro. Some extraterrestrials aren't friendly.
Thanks to Harry for that footage. All right, let's discuss The Boogeyman now. Kate, that was your pick. We blame you. Tell us, what did we just see? Tell us what we just experienced.
So Ryan, we experienced that rare thing where they managed to make a movie unscary, boring, long-winded, overly simplistic, and really confusing at the same time.
That sums it up.
Yeah.
What's it about? What's the story?
So basically, childhood trauma leads to adulthood terror when ghosts of the past come to haunt a young girl and boy now grown up.
Was little 12-year-old Kate disappointed in her pick?
Yeah, I think her reaction would come down to, that was dumb.
Yeah.
I don't think little 12-year-old Kate would have been scared, and I would have been resentful that my one attempt at shoplifting ended in, complete mediocrity. So.
Because it felt a lot like the filmmakers were just making this up as they came to set
Yes.
every day. Like, okay, what weird thing can we have happen today that
Exactly.
just will not cut together in any logical sense?
Which, I gotta say, weird shit that doesn't make any sense is probably like the bread and butter of this show.
Yeah.
It could still be entertaining.
Yeah.
But this was boring as
No.
hell.
I don't like this soup.
Don't you want to grow up to be big and strong like your daddy?
How about some crackers?
Oh, sorry. I knew I'd forgotten something.
The first act of this film, it starts with a little bit of a prologue where we see two young kids, brother and sister, watching through the window as their mother entertains a male suitor on the couch. So they witness their mother and some random guy that they think is scary, and as soon as mom finds out, she goes berserk and she has her boyfriend punish the boy by tying him to a bed and beating him in front of his little sister.
Yeah.
Who then sneaks into the kitchen, steals a large knife, cuts her brother free, gives him the knife, and then he kills the man in his mother's bed. Cut to, they're in their 20s, and the boy, who's now a young man, won't talk at all. He's traumatized and mute. And the sister is having these disturbing dreams that her husband is trying to kind of coach her through.
Lacey! Jake, come here. It's all right. There. It's all right.
Jake, I'm scared, Jake.
So you've got her on the couch because she's fortunate enough she can talk. John, why don't you tell us about the therapist?
Well, the therapist is played by the great John Carradine,
Yeah.
who's probably only in the movie to get the money to make the movie, I'm guessing. He
Yeah.
probably needed car payment or something or other, which is kind of his whole career throughout the 80s. I don't know where this therapy is coming from, but it made no sense whatsoever.
Absolutely. Worst movie therapist I've seen in years.
Probably made the lead character worse off emotionally and mentally than she would have been if she had just never seen him.
I want you to go back with her and take a look at it. You've got to convince her. She has to see the house and remember it the way it is now, not the way it was 20 years ago.
They go down to the house where all this took place, and when they're there, we meet a bunch of new people that we don't care about, and they're living in the house.
Boogeyman! Timmy!
Timmy!
Are you up to your old number again? It still seems to work. Timmy, get out of here. Timmy really likes this place a lot. So do I, as a matter of fact.
The only thing that's still there is the mirror that apparently witnessed the boy stabbing the guy from the prologue.
I think that's a valid question. Why did it only come to life when they show up?
You know, I remember that Grandma said when you break a mirror, you free everything that it's seen. Well, at least we had some action around here for a change.
And you could say, oh, well, it came to life because they're the ones who actually killed him, and therefore that enraged the spirit or whatever. But if that's the case, then why didn't the fucking mirror kill them? Instead, it goes around and kills everyone in the house. It kills every other secondary character we don't know.
Randos on the beach.
Kills people that have
Anything
nothing
within
to do.
its reflection,
Yeah.
the glow of its reflection
Well,
of the
shard,
shards.
the shard stuck on a kid's shoe kills perfect strangers having a little barbecue on the beach. It's
Yeah.
like, whoa.
And I have a feeling, as somebody who came from the new German art cinema movement, that the director had in mind something to do with like traditional mythology about breaking mirrors and what happens to mirrors, and was trying to make some comment about the way the past scars you and follows you, but through reflections. But it was just completely without any real, substance.
Whenever we're in church, I watch you.
Let me tell you guys, one of my favorite things about this movie, maybe I'm weird, I really liked the chicken noises.
I think it's cute. Willie, you're so different from all the other boys. Come on, Willie. You know you can trust me. Willie, I just want to be close to you.
And the woman who comes in there trying to seduce, the mute brother, never saw her before, I don't think. Never see her again.
And it's the only time the brother's really violent at all towards anybody.
It's the only time the brother has a pulse. I mean, until that moment, he literally just stands and stares at anyone that talks to him, and yet they act like it's fine. Meanwhile, you got the brother, Willie or whatever, who's like a walking calamity. He's a mute who tries to strangle someone to death when she tries to have sex with him.
Which doesn't pay off either.
Which doesn't pay off. But maybe he needs some therapy. Maybe he's the one who would really benefit. I mean, that guy doesn't even have a functioning adult relationship in his life.
Yeah.
She's at least married, to the most boring human on the planet, but she's got some sort of adult sort of functioning going on.
Yeah.
But so she's the one that gets therapy, but the kid doesn't. He just gets to shovel shit in the barn. Okay.
Yeah, they're copying so many other movies like Amityville Horror, Halloween, The Exorcist.
So that's one of the few things that worked for me. She's making soup or something, and he's like, "What's wrong with you? I just told you that your parents are dead," and she's like, "I'm possessed."
Doesn't even bring his own crucifix to the exorcism.
No, he rips one off the wall or something and runs away. He's like, "Oh shit, I'm not prepared for this. The room just turned green," or whatever. They may as well have just called this movie Missed Opportunities. The entire movie was just a series of missed opportunities. There's a better movie in there.
Kevin, dinner's ready.
The biggest missed opportunity is the well that they set up from the very beginning of the film, and there's this little boy always playing around the well, and of course we're just waiting for the moment that the kids never happens.
Even in a film that was not a horror movie, that kid would have fallen in the well. You know, this could have been a romantic comedy, and that kid played around that well so much, he's going to end up in there. Okay, so the most obvious, glaring, worst part about this movie is there's no fucking boogeyman in this movie.
Yeah.
There is a shard of a broken mirror that is somehow going around killing people, and there are POV shots in which you hear heavy breathing as if there's somebody lurking around every corner, but there is no lurking anybody. There is just a piece of glass. The movie should be called The Piece of Glass That Kills People.
Yes.
That sounds like a giallo movie.
That's it, right? Yeah, that's more of a giallo than even we could have had.
One of the things that's kind of misunderstood about video nasties these days, people have this idea that the video nasties are truly nasty, that they're really too hard to look at. This is a pretty tame movie. I mean, there's hardly any nudity. I think you said there was one nipple, if that.
And they usually come in pairs.
Boogeyman!
I don't know how that would necessarily kill you. It wasn't like the glass came down on him. It was the wood. I mean, I banged my head on a window a few times. It hurts, but it didn't chop my head off.
Anytime you leave it up to the censors, I mean, they don't care about nuance, they don't care about quality, they don't care about, all they cared about was that there was sex and violence and that they come together in this movie. And that's enough to get it banned. I think you said there was one nipple. I mean, this is like a TV movie practically. Perhaps I can look into my magic mirror and predict the outcome here. Is this a recommend or not? What do you think, Kate?
12-year-old me says this is stupid and a waste of time.
Yeah, me and 12-year-old Kate can get along fine because I thought this movie sucked.
I would say this is a strong recommend if you are a masochist.
Yeah.
And really, really like to punish yourself. Otherwise, it's a piece of shit and don't even bother.
Yeah, I couldn't really recommend the film, but if you have your finger on the fast forward button, it's not a bad highlights reel movie. Fast forward to the gore and you'll be happy with it.
All right, well, this is the part of the show where we each get a movie to recommend. Let's start with Kevin. What is your Video Nasty recommendation for the folks back home?
My recommendation is a 1981 Section 2 Video Nasty called Dead and Buried by director Gary Sherman. It's a very interesting take on the zombie genre set in a small coastal town in the Pacific Northwest. And the special effects are particularly disturbing, created by Stan Winston. And the film also features an outstanding performance by Jack Albertson.
When you die in Potter's Bluff, expect the unexpected. From the creators of Alien, Dead and Buried.
My recommendation is Flesh for Frankenstein, also known as Andy Warhol's Frankenstein from 1973. Despite the fact that Andy Warhol had nothing to do with the making of the film, the director, Paul Morrissey, was part of Andy Warhol's factory and did work with Andy a lot. It stars Udo Kier as Baron Frankenstein in a totally unhinged, hilarious performance. It's got nudity and gore galore, and it's incredibly funny, and I think it's one of the best takes on the whole Frankenstein genre of films. If you like Frankenstein movies, you'll love it.
And what Playboy magazine calls the most gruesome epic ever unleashed. Andy Warhol's Frankenstein.
My pick is a much maligned, and I feel unfairly maligned, slasher from Canada in 1982, Visiting Hours. It's not actually my favorite Video Nasty. That plum goes to Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. So I'm going to cheat and say that you should I recommend that too. You should see that too. But Visiting Hours is really interesting. It's something special for the slasher genre. Lee Grant is the star, and she kind of like spearheaded the project. She looked around and saw that slashers were a popular genre, and of course they were very misogynistic and everything else, and violent towards women, etc. And she said, let's make a slasher movie that has sort of like a feminist message. And I mean, just how cool. It's a feminist slasher. This is a movie that stars Lee Grant, William Shatner, Michael Ironside, Linda Pearl, and Lenore Zann. Michael Ironside plays this it's the human embodiment of toxic masculinity. It's not especially gory, and I think the reason it's maligned is because people expect, once again, that they're gonna be seeing, ooh, a Video Nasty. It's gonna be this nasty, gory movie. And instead, you get this smart, interesting, progressive, good horror movie. Check it out.
In this hospital, your next visit may be your last.
All visitors, please leave. Honey? Don't do this.
Visiting Hours.
My pick for a recommendation for Video Nasties is the Section 2 Video Nasty, The Witch That Came from the Sea. Directed by prolific cult filmmaker Matt Cimber, and starring Millie Perkins, who is best known as playing Anne Frank in The Diary of Anne Frank. The Witch That Came from the Sea could also be seen as a feminist work. It's about a woman who is so repressed and scarred by childhood sexual abuse that her idea of masculinity and sexuality is wrapped up between attraction and repulsion, and her sexual desire becomes sadistic and obviously ends up with a great amount of violence to the men involved. The footage that's used of the weightlifters on Muscle Beach is unusual and extremely effective.
Sailing over the bounding main, whenever a stormy wind should blow, will Jack come home again?
All right, we've reached the part of the show where we're going to draw the theme for next episode. Very exciting. The way we do this, everybody will draw a theme, and then Kate will be the lucky host who gets to choose of the 4 themes what we'll do next week. And that is your reward for having your shitty movie.
For inflicting it on
yes, for
you.
inflicting that horrible movie on us. Go ahead, Kate. Okay. It's very hard to do this with gloves on.
Okay, we have Wrestler and Wrestling.
Wrestler and Wrestling. So these are movies that star or were directed by or, God forbid, written by a wrestler or feature wrestling. Go ahead, what do you got?
Golden Harvest.
Ooh, Golden Harvest.
What's that?
It's films that were released by the Golden Harvest production company and mostly martial arts films.
Yeah.
Oh, similar to yours? Sort of? Peplum and Gladiator. So we've got a lot of, Hercules movies, or Maquis is one of my favorite of the Peplum genre. So there's a lot of good choices here. What do you got, Kate?
I have got one that could have a video nasty show up, Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. But this is a movie directed by or starring a Bigfoot.
Or God forbid, written by.
Or God forbid, written by.
Yeah, and no Harry and the Hendersons. This is a tough choice.
Yeah, take a look, soak it up, and what do you think?
I think that I'm going to go with Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Oh.
Right.
All right, well, thanks for watching Video Nasties Night on Macon County Movie Club. Be sure to follow us for new episodes every Friday through the rest of the year, and be sure to check in next week as we watch Bigfoot movies. That should be a fun topic. You can also find us on Instagram. Just look up the LA Frankenstein channel. I'll see you next week. Come back. See you then.